For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ashley Matkovic and I'm the founder of Fusion Biz Co. And this, got too fancy with one, yes. And this is our 4th annual International Women's Day event collaboration with the lovely Brooke Vulinovich of Social Club Community. Just want to say thank you to all of our beautiful members for coming along today and everyone else who's in the room here to support women's empowerment. Woohoo! I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land we have gathered on today. I pay my respects to the elders past and present, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the culture and hopes of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples across the nation. So, it has been a year since COVID hit our shores, and I know that a lot of us have had a very intense 12 months that we've just put behind us. And being International Women's Day, Brooke and I always have something that we like to celebrate. Obviously we're celebrating women's empowerment as well, but this year we decided to theme it Ronaversary because it has been a year, so we're celebrating 1 year anniversary since COVID. And when it hit, I'm sure I wasn't alone when I thought I just went into denial that it would hit Australia, let alone sleepy little Perth. And I was in denial for quite some time until it got to the point where I realised I'm going to have to postpone any Fusion events for the foreseeable future. And I'm sure, many business owners sitting here today, their revenue was wiped out within that one announcement. And once the despair kind of, passed and the anxiety and everything like that subsided, we loved watching all the business owners see what new opportunities were available to them and see the silver lining and, see things that perhaps they wouldn't have if COVID didn't hit. So we really wanted to shine a light on all the positivity and creativity from the past year. And it ties in really nicely with the Global International Women's Day theme of women in leadership achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 world. And I actually read an interesting fact at that time, probably at the height of lockdown, that women's jobs are 1.8 times more vulnerable to this crisis than men's jobs. And that showed me that we still have a lot of work to do to close that gender inequality gap. But the entrepreneur in me also got a little bit excited that I know that when women are backed into a corner without a job to support their families and their lifestyles, that they'll do anything that they can to bring the money in and put food on the table. So I was excited that I feel like the landscape's going to change for women in the next 5, 10, 15 years. Our daughters will, it'll be normal and commonplace for them to be empowered and bringing their money in and doing what lights them up. So I'm actually really excited for the future for women. And I know there's so many business owners in this room. We're surrounded by women empowerment, and we really need to keep that going. We really need to continue the efforts we've made towards women equality and also, collaboration over competition, which I know that Perth is really at the forefront of that. Because I hear from other states it's not quite like that over there and the rest of the world. So I love that we're supporting each other, our men are supporting us, and if we just keep doing that, every little action will lead towards a more equal world, because an equal world is an empowered world. So, so we also need to remember to turn back and give those who aren't doing so well a helping hand. That's why Brooke and I are really excited to announce the International Women's Day Small Biz Grant winner after the formalities. We're super excited to introduce that this year. That we had a portion of every ticket sold went towards that grant to help someone who suffered during the pandemic. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to just see them in the audience. Okay, I have some people to thank, as an event like this doesn't really go ahead without so many vendors get involved. Thank you to the Ritz for hosting us today. Thank you to Kerry from Control Freak Co, who've been our graphic design partner for the past 4 years. Ezra Reed for singing for us today. Maple and Ren for these gorgeous florals. Thank you, Elle. Zoe Clare, who's our photographer this morning. Thank you, Zoe. Kelly from Mirror Moments. Make sure you go and get a photo at the Mirror photo booth out there. The lighting's really good on this. Sequin Walls Perth, the Sequin Wall. Thank you very much. It goes with the vibe perfectly. And last but not least, I'd really like to thank our major event sponsor, The Modern Doctor, who've just launched a new concept clinic, the first of its kind, founded by Dr. Fatima Vindani and Dr. Adil Munshi, combining modern medicine and age-old alternative therapies to enhance and restore you to your best self. A bespoke integrated health and cosmetic clinic helping you to illuminate from within. I'd like to invite the doctors to the stage to share their story with you now.
Okay. Hello? Hello, beautiful ladies. It's an absolute honour to be here today and to be able to stand here in front of you. I'd like to start by saying thank you to Ashley and Brooke for extending an invitation to us to be able to sponsor such an amazing event that celebrates so many lovely women. For those of you who don't know me, well actually Ashley's already used this, but I'm going to do it again because that's what I've got written down. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Fatima Vindani. I'm a GP, and this is my husband, Dr. Adil Munshi. He is an amazing acupuncturist, Chinese medicine doctor, and he is the yang to my yin. I definitely not be able to be here without him. He's really supported me my whole life. I wanted to share our journey and our story with you. Our story began about 10 years ago when we started trying to conceive, and we came against a lot of roadblocks. I was told that I would never get pregnant with my own eggs by my gynecologist at the time after a failed IVF. And to say that I was devastated is well and truly an understatement. I completely spiraled into a really dark place, and when I look back now, I realise that that was probably depression. I couldn't go to work, I actually couldn't do anything. I had 6 months out of life. I really couldn't function. I was truly unhappy, and I lost myself completely. At the time, I was being looked after by another doctor, and she said to me, "You really owe it to yourself not to give up."
Because of this advice, we did a lot of research, we changed our diets, we took supplements, and we had a lot of acupuncture. It was when we completely changed our lives that we tried the second round of IVF, and we were blessed with a beautiful daughter.
She definitely lights up our lives, and she's now 7. I don't know what we would do without her. We realised that when we took charge of our lives and we changed the disease narrative, things changed for us. For me, when I felt good, I looked good, and I realised very quickly that my well-being was attached to my mental health, my nutritional status, the way my skin looked, and the way that my gut functioned.
This was life-changing for us. I decided to go back to school and learn, get my Bachelor of Science degree in Chinese medicine and acupuncture.
Adil actually started out as in business information and IT, so this was a complete change for him. And I absolutely couldn't be prouder of him. And I actually completely changed the way I practice medicine. I realised that what I wanted to do most in the world was to help women, to help them truly be happy in themselves. We see so many women struggling with their versions of unhappiness, who have lost themselves, who feel tired, whose skin doesn't function well, whose gut doesn't function properly, women struggling with acne, hormonal imbalances, fatigue and burnout. The pressures on women in society today are enormous, and the current health model is dissatisfactory, and we experience this firsthand.
When we combine nutrition, alternative therapy, and conventional medicine in a proactive way, we can achieve much better health and wellness outcomes. This became our vision, and this is what prompted us to open up our clinic.
We want to help women achieve balance and harmony from within. And because of this, we created our core offering, which we called Illuminate. This is the package we're giving away today to one lucky winner, so if you haven't entered our prize draw, please do. It's $2,500 worth of treatments. It's a 10-week program, and it focuses entirely on your gut-skin-brain connection.
So as Dr. Hema said, it's $2.5 grand. It does include an array of modalities such as acupuncture, which I would promote, which will focus on balancing your chi, your gut, and your mental well-being. It also includes vitamin infusions that will improve cell function. An amazing supplement which includes collagen. I'm sure most of you have already tried it out there. Bespoke prescription, medical grade skincare based on individual needs. Some amazing holistic and conventional facial treatments, and it really helps restore you from the inside out.
Beauty is the illumination of your soul, and we want to see every single one of you shine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my God!
Hi everyone! How exciting is this? Do you want to do something so crazy? I want to keep the girls in at the moment and the boy. Ashley and I's first version of International Women's Day. Put your hand up if you were there. The very first time we did an international. Ash, what's her hand up? So, you know the island, that little cafe in the middle of Elizabeth Quay? That's where we did it. So this wasn't here. I don't think, was Elizabeth Quay even Elizabeth Quay? Somebody else's Quay? Anyway, and it was just so crazy because when we came to the Ritz to set up for everything, we were like, whoa, hi, oh, I keep seeing people, I'll get distracted. We're like, whoa, this is so nuts. That's where we began, and this is where we are now. How cool is that? Happy International Women's Day, everybody. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for making like such an effort on a Monday morning, because I don't know about you guys, but Monday's my admin day, and I do not look like this on a Monday ever. So yeah, I appreciate, especially now with this, the effort that it goes into dressing up, especially on a Monday morning. So thank you so much. Everyone just looks absolutely stunning. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happened to me over the past 12 months, other than like the obvious. I'm pretty sure you know how that works. In case you don't, there's protection. No, it was planned, Anyway, I digress. Both professionally and personally. I think some of my social club members, they know about professionally what happened in the social club during the time, but a lot of people don't know what happened to me personally. It was both the worst and best year of my life. The best you can see clearly, the worst you wouldn't know. So I remember it was about February last year, and I was going to Dubai to speak at a conference, and I remember Dom saying to me, Dom's my husband, for anyone that doesn't know, how is COVID impacting your business? And I was like, it's not. What are you talking about? What do you mean? I came back from Dubai and I thought, this is different. I was literally there for 4 days, but when I came back through the airport, everyone was wearing masks, and it hadn't really happened over there yet. So I came back here, everyone in the airport was wearing masks, the air hostesses were wearing masks, and I thought, what happened in the last 4 days when I got back? And I thought, I'd better start tracking cancellations for the membership due to COVID. And was I in for a fucking shock. Within a couple of weeks, really, I probably lost half the members. And please don't hear that, I had so many people contact me and be like, I'm so sorry I cancelled. I get it, it's totally fine. So if you were someone that cancelled, don't feel like I'm coming for you with a pitchfork. That's good, I get it. But basically, long story short, I predicted I had 2 months left and then I would have lost everything. So not only was that scary from a financial perspective, but then personally, we actually just bought a block of land, right? So all of our savings was going into this block of land to build a house, I lived in a one-bedroom apartment with Dom for the last 7 years. I probably don't recommend it. It does test your relationship, but I think it makes you stronger. People are like, how did you do that? I have no idea. Anyway, and so all of our savings was going into this block of land. My husband was FIFO, so he was actually in Karratha, and that's when the regional borders got shut. So he couldn't get back. He didn't know when he could get back. We had five of his flights were cancelled. He ended up in Karratha for 7 weeks. I was in the apartment alone. I couldn't see my family. And then something else, which I'll talk about in a second, was going on as well. So it was very, very, very scary. All of our savings were going into this block of land. I thought I was going to lose my business. He couldn't work. And financially, it's the most pressure I've ever felt in my life. We spoke to a lawyer to try and get out of the block because we thought, well, if we can just get out of this block, then we've got our savings. Now, because our offer had already been accepted, the lawyer said, nah, you try to get out of this, they will sue you, and you will lose your deposit and you'll lose everything. And I remember calling Dom and just crying and being like, we are so fucked. Like, we are so fucked. I just don't know what to do. I don't know when I'm going to get to see you again. Don't know when I'm going to get to see my family again. And it was awful. Awful, awful, awful. Now, it gets worse. So, a lot of, I think the pressure as well that was going on. My sister, my eldest sister, I have 3 sisters, for anyone that doesn't know. My eldest sister was very, very sick. Very, very, very sick, to the point that she had to move back in with my parents because she needed 24/7 care. Now, when COVID hit, they sent them home from the hospital because that's how bad it was. That was scary. When I say she was sick, she didn't make it. So she ended up passing away in June. Now, she passed away on a Wednesday. My social club webinar is on a Wednesday. And I did not miss one live webinar through that. And people said to me all the time, how did you keep going? How did you do that? But what I think so many people don't realise is that's all I had. That's all I had. I didn't know when I was going to see my husband again. I couldn't see my family again. But I had this incredible community that I knew 9:30 every Wednesday. You guys, girls, it is, were there. And I just want to say thank you so much because that is the only thing that got me through that time. The only thing. They were very, very, very dark days, the worst. It was awful. It was awful. But if I had not have had the people that stuck with me during that time, I don't know how I would have made it through. But if anything, in those dark times, your business community and your support and the love for what it is that you do, the fact that you're so excited to do that thing is so cool that we get to experience that. Because if I was working for someone else at a job, I'd be like, fuck this, fuck that, I'm out. Like, do you know what I mean? So for anyone that struggled through the past 12 months, or any time you are struggling, just know that it will get better. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and please keep going, because you never know what's on the other side of all of the shit. So thank you again for coming. I'm going to invite up Kim. Oh, there she is. Hi. So Kim's our very first speaker for the day. Please give her a big round of applause. Okay, all right. So, for anyone that does not know this incredible lady, incredible that I've had the pleasure of knowing for
Before you got married.
before I got married,
Yes.
like 5 years, 6 years, maybe even longer.
You should know this.
Yeah. I should. It's my wedding anniversary.
Oh, don't
3
say
years. Dawn's not here, so 3 years, yeah. But then it was before that.
Waiting for it.
Yeah, changed my skin. Basically, I had like the worst acne, and I just thought, I can't get married. Like, it was so bad. And she made me look nice. And so that's why it's our wedding anniversary. Okay, we need to shift so I'm not like with my back to anyone. So, I will give you a brief overview of Kim and then we'll get stuck in. So Kim is one of Australia's leading dermal therapists who founded skincare clinic Belle Peau in 2017 with the goal of helping women regain their confidence through beautiful skin, which I can confirm works. Over the past 14 years, Kim has grown her award-winning clinic to become one of the most highly regarded in Australia, with results-driven treatments that incorporate the very latest in cosmeceutical and dermal science technology. Now, she has also won pretty much every business award there is. Australian Telstra Young Business Women of the Year in 2015 and 2016. Like, once wasn't enough. And the West Australian Business News 40 Under 40. So this girl actually, she's done some pretty incredible stuff. For a little teeny tiny human, right, you've got the credentials. Now, Kim is also the co-founder of Australia's largest dog-friendly cafe, Slate, because she's not busy enough with Belle Peau, which was named as one of the 4 most Instagrammable cafes in Australia. How cool is that? So, cheers. And then, on top of all of that, she's a mother. The biggest one all in all. So, Kim, can you give us a quick rundown of each business?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me today. You look so beautiful today.
You're my after-baby goals.
Thank you. The energy in this room is so good. I mean, Monday morning, I don't often come across this much energy, and I normally don't look like this. It's lucky if I get a proper shower now. So, thank you so much for having me. So, in 2007, I started my first business, which is a skincare clinic called Belle Peau. And at that time, I did not think in a million years that I would be starting my first business at 19. But I had to do this out of necessity because being one of Australia's first dermal therapists, I couldn't find a job. No one knew what a dermal therapist was, and in order for me to practice what I've learned through my dermal science degree, I had one option that I could only see at that time, and that was to start my own clinic. And so Belle Peau, 14 years on, it's been such a learning curve for me. I remember I didn't even know to put money aside for GST. I didn't know it. I spent it all. And this was before social media. I did not. What? Before social media, I remember at the end of each day, I used to walk around North Perth and to put my pamphlet in every single letterbox. We inserted newsletter into newspaper, and there was traditional ways of doing marketing. We haven't done any marketing for a very long time because I think the best way of marketing is to do a really good job, and word of mouth is the best, and it's free. And as we know in business, every dollar counts.
Ain't that true?
3 years after Belle Peau, I got into property investment, and as soon as I saved up enough to deposit, then I would add to my portfolio. And one of the properties that I invested in is a 7.5 acre property in Bennett Spring. It sits right at the entrance of Whiteman Park. I didn't think that I'll be opening a dog cafe, but I lived there for 1 year. The problem about that location is there's no good coffee. My husband is a coffee snob, so he would actually go out of his way and drive an extra 10 minutes, if that is what it takes, to get his caffeine fix. So we thought, okay, we should solve this problem. With everything that I do in business, I want to solve a problem. I want to find a solution for everyone. So opening a cafe is not only solving the solution, but I did not want to open just another hospitality business that can go out of trend. So we decided to use 5,000 square metre of our piece of land to open Australia's largest dog cafe, the only cafe in Australia that has a dog park, but not one dog park, 2 dog parks. And I love dogs. I have 3 of my own. If I could have 20, I would. That's my retirement plan. 20 chihuahuas. So we have one dog park has an agility course for the little dogs to practice their exercise. And another one is a lot larger. And this is where we have our dog play dates. So we can have up to 100 dogs plus their owners running around in there, because sometimes you have to run after your dogs, not just a dog running. We have a picnic area, we have an indoor playroom with a rock climbing wall for the little kids, we have an outdoor nature playground, we have a function building for weddings and parties. We also have a huge outdoor dining area, and this is what my vision is of a proper dog cafe. A cafe that you can dine with your dogs, not tie your dog on the table, but you can actually spend time with your fur babies, because to me they are part of the family. And I also co-own a architect and construction company with my husband and 2 friends in Vietnam. So we build everything from hotels to restaurants to offices, commercial properties, and in the future we hope to get into building resorts as well.
Is that all?
We can stop there. We had 15 minutes today.
I love it. I told you she was amazing. So, Kim, let's talk about the theme of today and this year, which is Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 world. So for anyone that's sitting in the audience today that's actually just starting off in this economy, in a global pandemic, in their small business journey, what advice would you give them?
I think the biggest advice for anyone starting out in your business journey is to surround yourself with people who are willing to support you and lead them to believe in your vision. When your team believe in your goals, your passion and your values, you can achieve amazing things together. And it's so much better when you do it with someone who believes in your project as much as you do. But I think another big advice to me is not only for anyone who's starting out in your business journey, but for all businesses, is never stop innovating. History has shown us that companies that are worth hundreds of billions of dollars or millions of dollars and have been around for decades can collapse overnight in time of crisis. And the strongest business are the ones that are quick to respond to change and are quick to adapt. So in business, I always see the saying that you need to innovate or die, but in nature, it's the survival of the fittest. And the change that happens around us is so fast. And to give you an idea, if you think about 45 years ago, no one owned a computer. Microsoft was founded in 1975. The world's first digital camera was found the same year. And 4 years later, in 1979, then the world's first mobile phone was invented. The same year that I started my business in 2007, that was a year that all of us was introduced to a smartphone. Who doesn't have a smartphone? Who remembers a big block? So what we have experienced in the last 4 to 5 years is equivalent to 6,000 years of change before then. And there has been predictions that in the next 100 years, the change, the advancement in technology that we will experience will be equivalent to 25,000 years. So what does that say to all of us here? Personally, to me, it says that we need to embrace change. We need to innovate at a faster pace than ever before to stay current, to survive and to thrive.
Yeah, love that. So true. So let's talk now about COVID, because you were very heavily impacted with your businesses. So talk us through the challenges of each business and really how you made it through.
Brooke, you've seen me at my worst.
I have. I remember speaking to, we're friends in real life as well. Oh, I think we're friends. I met a lawyer and I still think we're friends. But I saw him, I was on the phone to you, I think when the cops came in and you were crying. Yeah, and it was fucking brutal because she works her ass off, like so many people do. But seeing someone who you admire so much just break down completely, you know, like, oof, this is bad. This is real bad. So talk us through that.
It takes a lot for me to break down like that.
Yeah.
And just thinking about that made me so emotional. It's been in business for 14 years. I've faced lots of challenges, and what I've learned through all the challenges is you need to be prepared. And if it doesn't happen, then great. But if it does, then at least you're not going to panic and you know exactly what to do to lead your team. So when we heard news of COVID in December 2019, we were actually closed for 3 weeks to do a huge renovation to our clinic, and that was a huge chunk of cash flow. Then we had a plan in place. The first plan was, what can we do to look after our clients? We need to look after our clients who have been there to support us, because without them we would not be here today. So that first plan was to introduce video consultation, and this is something that I have been doing for quite a few years for my international and interstate clients. But the transition from teaching those online consultation skills to all of my team. So we know that with the online consult, it is not something that we would implement during the lockdown. We were looking after clients who were in quarantine before the lockdown. A second thing that we implement was the home pills. So the home pill is something that we wanted to continue during the whole lockdown, because lots of our clients were in the middle of a treatment program, and if we stop treating their skin, everything that we have done so far will be a waste of their time and their money. So the home pills, we priced that at cost price because we know the difficulties that a lot of people have to go through. People were losing their jobs left, right and centre. So the home pill involved a thorough consultation with one of our skin clinicians, and then it's a very thorough consultation of 45 minutes, and then I personally put every single product together in that pill kit, and I'll handwrite an A4 sheet of paper with all the instructions and all the aftercare. I actually developed a callus right here on my middle finger from writing. You can feel how rough that is. It's still there.
Can confirm rough.
It's the personal touch. The reason why we get lots of success through our treatments at Belle Peau is we treat everyone as an individual. To train one of my skin clinicians in a treatment, one full day, they have to do that same treatment on so many different skin types. We customize everything. We customize the treatment according to each areas of your face, neck and décolletage, because no two skin is the same, not even on the same person. Once we were able to look after the clients, my next plan is how do I retain my team that I invested so much time, my team that has been with me since day one. I have lots of staff that have been with me since day one.
How many staff do you have at the Belle Peau now?
We have 10.
Yeah. So 10 that full time?
2 has gone back to study, so
Right.
8 full-time. So
So
10
yeah.
therapists plus 2 receptionists and 1 manager.
Yeah. So
So
that's
13.
huge overheads when you're shut and can't trade.
So we introduced Australia's first beauty bank, and it's like an ecosystem. The beauty bank involves us putting the profit from our client's skincare purchase not into our pocket, but into their beauty bank account. So our clients have credit to spend on their skin the moment that we reopen. And what that means for my team is they have lots of work to return to. And also it serves a third purpose, which is our skincare supply can move their stock.
Yeah, it was amazing. You did just went into action so quickly. So quickly. And then talk us through Slate, because that was a whole other situation.
Slate is not in a location for takeaway, it's not in a location for Uber delivery. So we shut the entire time, but luckily we own the properties for all our businesses, so we did have to pay rent, and our bank put all our mortgages on hold. We used that time to work on a menu to improve pace, so we expanded our outdoor playground for the kids in time for spring, and we just really spent that time to reassess everything. Unfortunately, my business in Vietnam is not doing quite well because we are so lucky here in Australia. We get JobKeeper, we get JobSeeker, our bank put our mortgages on hold. But in Vietnam, at the peak of the COVID, more people were dying from starvation than the COVID itself. Imagine that during lockdown, no one can go out. And in Vietnam, where my birth country is, there's a lot of beggars, homeless people, people who earn their day-to-day meal collecting rubbish on the street. So it's heartbreaking. We provided 500 survival kits each day at the peak of the COVID to people in need. And it includes food and the basic necessities. So we are very lucky here, very lucky. Up to now, most of our projects in Vietnam are still on hold. There's no support from the government, and it's up to small businesses to get together to help each other.
Well, I think that's amazing and a great way to do it. So amazing. I think everyone will agree how incredible she is. So thank you so much, Kim. And I'm going to swap over to Ash, and she's going to do the next speakers. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Kim, for sharing your story with us. I would now like to invite Ruby Ndengi to the stage. Thank you.
Give it to me, I want it. Give it to me, I want
Awesome. So, welcome to International Women's Day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. It's so cool.
So Ruby is an award-winning entrepreneur and community champion, owner of Annika & Co, Annika & Glam, her range, which is just outside the door up there if anyone wants to check out her makeup range, and Sip and Dream. So you're a mental health and minority empowerment advocate who is passionate about empowering women to create the life they love and deserve through healing and hustling. You courageously share your story of healing from depression as a way to remind others that no matter what you go through in life, you can still fight your way to healing, own your story, and unapologetically, and make the most out of it.
Hi guys.
So, you launched Annika Glam in the midst of the pandemic. It's a makeup range for women of colour. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So basically, I was a bit crazy. I guess, to be honest, I think 2020 just made me realize we know nothing and we literally have nothing to lose. I guess, so Annika Glam was something, I've been a makeup artist for about 7 years, and it was always a dream of mine. Being an African woman, being a woman of a darker skin, it was always incredibly difficult to find makeup my range. I know that sounds weird, but it's literally true. You walk into Mecca and there's usually like one tone for like, I don't know how many black girls or women of color there are in Perth, but there's usually just like a few selections, whereas, you know, other women of different skin tones, you can literally walk into Kohl's, you can walk into Woolies, you can walk into Priceline. We didn't really have those options. So I always had a dream of creating a makeup line. I guess for me, I find that being a black woman, being a woman of color, that is sort of my superpower. And you know, for every business person in here, you solve problems. That's why you get into business. So for me, I've always wanted to solve problems that I experienced growing up. I moved to Australia when I was 14. So at the time when all the girls were wearing like foundations and looking pretty, when we went for balls, I couldn't really do the same thing. So I always wanted to create something for myself, for women that look like me, but also for the younger girls that are coming up. It was a 3-year journey. I wanted to launch Annika Glam in 2018, but I was also going through my own personal issues. I was going through a divorce at 25, I was depressed, and I was extremely suicidal. So the year that I actually was meant to launch it, the year where I was testing out my products, trying out different manufacturers, etc. That was the year where I actually ended up in hospital for 3 months from suicidal attempts. So for me, 2020 came along when I was in a journey of healing as a person and trying to find my inspiration, trying to find my strength to get back up in my business. And what it did was, it just made me realize, once again, you know nothing and you literally have nothing to lose. So I guess by the end of, I think by the middle of the year, maybe around July, I just say to myself, look, if there's ever a year to launch a makeup line, the same thing applies to, so if you understand that from the perspective of being a woman, you should try by all means to understand that from the perspective of being a black woman or a woman of color. So that includes Asian women, that includes women that are generally not white. And I know when we talk about racial issues, it does sort of pull cold strings in us. It feels uncomfortable, it feels awkward. But I feel that as women, I don't know why any woman at all would want to be the only person in the space that you're in. We were in here today, so I saw a few women who are my tone, black women, and I said to Susan, I was like, you know what, next year when they do this, I'm actually going to invite a lot more women, because there's no point of it just being you. I don't see why that would be fun. You want someone to gossip with, so.
So really, business is actually networking as well, isn't it?
Yes.
So we should fuse them together.
Yes,
Fusion.
yes, definitely.
Yes, done. I love that. Thank you. And while we're on the topic, and I know it is a sensitive topic, but I pre-approved this question with you, and thank you for addressing it, because it wouldn't feel right. I know a lot of us were, last year when the Black Lives Matter movement happened, it was just, I know that I spoke with Annie from True Life Stories, and she really opened up my eyes to white prejudice, and it's really changed the way, I didn't think I was racist, and but as a white person, there is the white prejudice. So I'd love for you to address what happened for you during that time.
Yeah, sounds good. So don't hate me when I say this. I'm saying this from a place of love. I did tell her before, and I say, I think growing up where I grew up, so I grew up in Zimbabwe, that's where I come from, and we moved here because, and we moved here because my lovely mom wanted to move here. And I think as a black girl, I didn't grow up in a country, even though I grew up in a country that had a history of oppression, by the time that we were around, it was very much just normal. So I went to a school with white kids, Indian kids, kids from Somalia. I went to a school where everyone was just normal. So I didn't even realize, even though history and all that stuff reminded us, I didn't realize I was black until I came to Australia. Now, go through the history of what that felt like, but this is not the day for it. However, last year really made me realize how far we have to go as a country. There's a lot of things that I love about Australia, and I'm grateful to be here, and I love contributing to my community. But when it comes to racial issues, I find that there's always usually two things that happen. There's the people that don't want to admit that it's happening, they don't care, they just don't want to hear it, and they're outrightly racist. And then there's also the people that can admit that it happens, but at the same time, they're not ready to step up and do anything. Now, when we talk about, as a black woman or as a woman of color, when we talk about step up and do something, I'm not saying go and fight anyone, I'm not saying go and kill anyone, that's not what we're saying. But I think there's power in being able to speak up. And what we saw last year was a lot of people refusing to speak up. You know, if we were in this room today and I'm going to use you as an example, just because you're the man that I can see. But if we saw him hitting up his wife, we would stand up because as human beings we understand how wrong that is, you know, and we would stand up on the fact of we need to fight for somebody else. And I feel like when it comes to racial issues, I'm not really sure why that begins to be a bit grey, because at the end of the day, if I'm affected as a black woman, whatever affects me, it also affects you in another way. I always say as women, if you can understand how we live in a world where there's a gender pay gap, you know, women are mistreated on the basis of their women, you should be able to understand how black people are treated the same way. There were a lot of deaths last year, and I found that to be very draining. I will be honest, I lost a lot of what I thought were friends last year because I got to a point where I said, I care about my mental health, and racial trauma is something that as a black woman I experience. And when I see my friends from different countries not stand up for me when I'm being violated racially, whether it's personally or it's not, my trauma gets triggered. So if we can understand how people that have been through domestic violence get triggered, if we can understand how people that have been through rape or anything of that sort that is traumatic gets triggered, we should be able to understand how black people get triggered or people of color get triggered during that time. I think there was a time where when COVID had started and everyone was making jokes about people from Asian backgrounds. And I was like, how can you blame a whole entire pandemic on people that look a certain way? In what world does that make sense? In what world have we ever blamed cancer or anything like that on anyone? So I think moving forward, we just need to be more aware and actually understand racial issues are actually traumatic. So when you take part in enhancing them or doing things that are racially discriminatory, you're actually triggering someone's trauma. You're causing someone to have issues with their mental well-being simply because you're choosing to. So I hope that wasn't too rude to make anyone
to call out people making those jokes that they think are funny, but actually really hurt people. It's with everyone. It's everyone's responsibility. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that with us. I could see the passion that was coming from your heart. So yeah, thank you. Another round of applause, please. Maybe I shine a light on all the positives and opportunities that came from COVID. Is there any silver linings that came from that time for you?
Yeah, I think for me, was saying that, 2020 for me was honestly the best and the worst year. Obviously, financially, it was a bit hard, but lucky enough, I still stayed with my mom. So that was good. But I think one of the things that it just reminded me of was, like I said before, we really do not know what tomorrow is going to be like. And I think sometimes we really take that for, we don't necessarily understand that to the gravity of it all, You don't know what's coming for you tomorrow, and I think the best day to do anything that you want to do is today. And we hear when people say that, but it's like, okay, cool, I can procrastinate. what last year really did for me was it pushed me back into a place of everything that I really want to do, this is the time to do it. And I think this year I've pushed myself to take on the challenges that I want to do, even though it's still difficult, you know, I still procrastinate here and there, but my drive is different just from last year. And I also think the best thing was being at home. I enjoyed it. I'm an introvert. I love seeing people, but only for like 2 seconds. So last year was amazing because every time people ask, you know, every time people ask me to go somewhere, I'm like, sorry, I can't COVID. So that was good. You know, it was nice to have some time off to be able to just rest. And I think also just tapping back into your creativity. I did a lot of writing last year. You know, just being able to tap back into the things that I love. So that was really good. Yeah.
Yes, awesome. Yeah, I think during that time, everyone was like, I love this like lockdown and COVID life. I'm going to carry this forward into my life. And but life just gets so busy, doesn't it? And you just look in your calendar, you're like, oh, I'm so busy this weekend, so it's kind of forgotten in Perth now.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, it was nice to have that downtime because I'm saying like after a big event like this, I'll go home and just sit on the couch for 2 hours and cards.
I get home and she like life up. My mom said, what did you do today? I'm like, I worked.
So my last question to you is like looking forward into the future. What are your hopes and dreams for the future? Like how can we create an equal future?
I guess at the end of the day, like what you guys did is just giving people platforms. I think sometimes when we don't reach out to people, we assume that either they don't want to be there or they don't have enough credentials to be there. And I think the beauty of it is if you don't reach out to people, you're never going to find out what it is that they have to offer. A lot of us have different stories that we can benefit from. We've got different communities that we can benefit from. So if you have any spaces where you get to invite people on the table, please invite people from different places. You know, I think the beauty of the country that we live in is this: if you can enjoy walking into the mall and having the pleasure of choosing from different cuisines, you should be able to do the same thing with people. And I feel like that's the best thing about it all, that we've got so much different experiences and getting to know that. Now I'm all about finding who people are, finding out their stories, and I find pleasure from that. And that's something I've had to do as well, because I think before I only stuck to one community because that's what I was used to. But now I'm enjoying getting to know different people. So that's really my hope at the end of the day, that as we continue to create spaces, we continue to leave the door open for the people that want to be in the room, because it's not only beneficial to them, it's also beneficial to you as well. You don't know what you're going to gain. And other than that, just that my business keeps on growing. So ladies, if you like some makeup, if you like to get your makeup done, please, I'm your girl.
You've been amazing. And now I'm going to invite Brooke back to
Alright, we're back.
We're enjoying it from this angle.
Sorry? Have you said we're enjoying it? You girls, behave. Someone's had too much champagne. Oh my god, it was alcohol too much. So, Renee Roberts is the owner of Rogue Road, a boutique creative agency encompassing her skills as a photographer, designer, illustrator, and brand consultant. Renee was actually our photographer for the event last year. Some of you may remember seeing her in your face with the camera. Renee also co-owned a fashion label for many years and runs a successful studio space in WA. So we're going to dive right in, Renee, to your questions. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So from obviously being our event photographer last year to now being a speaker on stage, a lot has changed for you, both professionally and personally.
Yes.
So can you talk us through that?
Yes. I must admit, when I saw this question as the very first question, had like a little panic because my life has completely changed in the last, I'm going to say 18 to 12 months. And there are so many familiar faces out here, so hello, if I haven't got a chance to say hi to everyone, please come say hi after. A lot of you, I hope, have seen me speak before. This is the first time I've spoken in a really long time, so if you can see the microphone shaking, it's because I'm like half of my pants right now. So yeah, I mean, the last event that I went to was actually the event we did last year when I photographed it. And that event was actually the first event I'd been to in a very long time because there was a lot going on in my personal life that I wasn't ready to talk about or share with anybody. A lot going on in my professional life also. So for those who don't know me, I call it like my before life, I guess. I used to run a business with my now ex-husband. We ran a clothing brand called J. Porter Clothing, and we also had another wholesale clothing business, and then I've always had my own business. And towards the end of 2019, I pretty much lost everything that I'd built. My marriage disintegrated, and I shut 2 businesses. I let my entire team go, and I had just rebranded and had to do it again. So if anyone's rebranded before, that's a really big undertaking. Undergoing that whilst also working through a divorce, moving out of my own house, saying goodbye to my dog, lots of different things that happen, there's lots of layers there. So at this event last year, it was actually the first time, one of my friends is out here, Amanda, wherever you are. Amanda at the back, I remember after photographing the event, we kind of peeled off into a little corner and I told her what had been happening, and she burst into tears and I burst into tears. But also I think I was the one saying, Amanda, it's okay. It's alright, I'm good. And it was an absolutely difficult, hugely difficult time for me, but also an opportunity for me to create a life that I really wanted and to step away from the things that were holding me back. So I kind of made the most of that, I think, in the last 12 months.
You did, definitely. And how good does she look?
Oh,
Who's gone from running multiple businesses with male business partners to launching and running a business on her own, have you noticed any obvious difference to the day-to-day running of the business?
This question actually stumped me a little bit. So yes and no. I think male energy is extremely valuable in business. It's a very much go energy. It's big, it's strategic, it's make moves.
Isn't it called BD?
It is called
Big something energy. There's one in me. So there you go.
I want to know now, yeah.
It's me.
No, and it is very different. I think it was very much a go energy all the time. I was working so much, just in some ways trying to keep up. So when that male energy, and I had 2 male business partners, and when that male energy left the building, physically, literally, spiritually, it allowed me to approach my business in a more gentle way. And that's really what I needed at the time for my own healing. But also, I've come to realise that's the way that I want to run my business, with a more gentle approach. I still work really hard. I don't work 18 hours a day anymore, and I'm certainly not trying to keep up with anybody. But it has allowed me to slow things down, and then all of a sudden something will go wrong and you've got to put that big energy out again. But I don't want to live in that energy anymore.
But like BBE? Doesn't really have the same ring to it, does it? Or BC, whoa! You said it, Marie. Yes, continue.
I mean, I think that's really, that kind of sums it up really. It was just that kind of energy.
She's so polite. Bless your soul. So, alright. Let's talk about how you stepped away from not 1 but 2 businesses you helped build. That would have been hard, and I'm sure there's people here today that are going through a similar situation. So what advice and tips would you give them?
It's a huge ego hit. For anyone that is facing it, anyone that's gone through it, it really is a big ego hit. You sort of question yourself as a business owner, you question yourself as a woman, you question your contribution. Did it matter? Is it going to be forgotten? Is there a legacy? So it is, as I said, a massive hit to the ego. For me, it was also a relief. And as I said, if anyone else is going through that, I think you should embrace the feeling of relief because it's ending for a reason, and it's ending for a good one, no doubt. And it does really open up open you up to future opportunities. It opens you up to figure out what you actually want without the baggage of something that's not serving you. And probably if you're leading a business, it's not been a very good environment for a time, and it's really good to get rid of that and to be able to start fresh. While that sounds really lovely, and that's the answer you probably want to hear, it's also really hard, and it's heartbreaking, and it's completely upheaved my whole life. As I said, I was going through personal issues at the same time, so that definitely made it difficult, but it also made it easier because it was kind of all happening at once. We were dealing with COVID, I was dealing with clients that were panicking through COVID, as well as saying goodbye to everything that I'd worked on and that I built for, since I was 16. So it was a big change, but a really good one. And you can see me now versus probably 18 months ago, almost a different person.
Anything that may fall apart, it is part of it's the space to create something new. It's allowing that.
And I think you do need to give yourself, I gave myself the time. I was selfish with that time, some would say, but I needed that time. And I think if you're facing something like that, do give yourself the time to work through all those emotions.
I don't think it's selfish. It's pretty huge. Like, how long had you spent building it up?
So probably around 8 years.
8 years. So I always remember that Sex and the City episode where they talk about how it takes half the time of a relationship to get over a relationship. And really, you've done it in a couple of months from the turnaround. So I think you've done well. Because everything in life is based on Sex and the City. Thank you. Because when you say to the kids, they're like, sex what, huh? Like, oh my God, I'm old. So, in the middle of a pandemic, you created these new opportunities for yourself. Can you talk us through the challenges that you overcame throughout that?
Well, as I said, I let my whole team go, and that was really difficult. Listening to Kim talk earlier about how she was able to, I guess that was one of the first things she thought about. Letting my team go nearly broke my heart because I care so much about the people that I work with. Thankfully, Alice, who's going to die because I'm singling her out, Alice has been my assistant for a couple of years, and I let Alice go. And then thankfully she came back. I can't remember what the question was now, you have to say it again.
Well, that's right.
That's right, we're creating opportunities.
Resilience? Okay.
Go back to the question. Okay. Do you guys know how nervous I was today? Like I said, it's been a really long time since I've spoken, and obviously talking about this topic is not easy. So as far as, I guess, creating opportunities for myself last year, I was, and I will say this with so much love to everybody else, I was very fortunate that my business is a business that is able to run online, that I had spent time building my business to a point that when COVID hit and businesses had to close, that didn't really affect me. In some ways, and I'm sorry, please don't throw daggers at me, in some ways it actually really helped my business because I was able to be the person that people needed to rely on. When things went wrong, they needed somebody to talk to, they needed somebody to help strategize with. So while I don't want to say I took advantage of a bad situation, because it's not in my bones to do that, I also recognise that something like this causes you to reach out to your community. And I'm so glad that even despite everything else that was going on, that I was able to help people through that time, even though it wasn't really affecting my brand. So.
I see a recurring theme that it's your community that gets the tough part. It's really important to people around. So you are the perfect example of how you can start your career. If there is someone who is in this environment
This was, you don't see yourself the way I see you. I don't see myself the way people in this room see me. So when you set up the perfect example of resilience, I don't see that myself. I just kind of got on with it. I set routines in place to just get on with things. When COVID happened, I got up every single morning, I moved my body, I went and got a coffee, and I chatted to the coffee girls, and they don't even know how much they got me through. So when I have, thank you for sending me the questions in advance.
I don't drop bombs on set. Well, I do.
Look, I
drop
do
bombs
it
on
on
stage,
stage,
but yeah, it's nice to have some prep time.
But in terms of, I guess, tips for resilience and what I went through was, you have to just make yourself get out of bed, which sounds so simple, but it's actually not when you're facing something so difficult. And if you can't force yourself to get out of bed, then you need to tell somebody who will then make you do that. If you can't get yourself out of bed every day, I do understand, because there were days when I just thought, you know what, life's just going to be too hard today. I'm just going to stay in my little apartment by myself, drink a bottle of wine by lunchtime. And look, I'll be honest, that only happened to me for like the first month of last year. Life's gotten, I can't even tell you how good life really is now. And so in terms of resilience, is yes, making sure that you look after yourself, first of all, is take care of yourself. The second thing is very similar to what everybody else has been saying today, is to make sure that your community that you have, that you'll firstly express your gratitude to them for being there, but do pull them around you. Don't do this by yourself. You don't have to do this by yourself. Look, there's 300 people in this room, and I'm sure that you'll make a new friend today, and that's somebody new that you can add to your support network. I was really lucky that my family, and I always cry when I talk about my family, especially my mum. I have a very amazing family, and they have helped me through every aspect of my life. But I also have beautiful friends, I have beautiful people in my community. I met an amazing man who's going to die that I've also said that. And, my assistant's the best ever. So if you've got people around you, then keep them close. But don't forget that you always have to check in on them too. So it's not all about you, even though sometimes it has to be a little bit about you.
Yeah, there are times.
And I think the third tip I would have, if I can give tips, would be to say yes to things. Be open-minded to things. When my business last year, I guess I was starting two businesses is really hard work, and then trying to keep another one going is like no fun at all. But saying yes to opportunities, offering yourself, if you've got a service that you can offer, and maybe you aren't going to get paid for that, but it's going to get you out in front of people, it's going to allow you to continue to build your community. When I did the photography last year, I reached out to the girls because I wanted to be here. But I didn't think I could buy a ticket. I didn't want to be here. But I wanted to be here. So I offered to photograph it because I knew that my camera is a security blanket for me. I knew that if I walked into the room with a camera, that I would be able to initiate conversation, that I would be able to talk to everyone and be amongst it without having to actually be amongst it. And so if you can create opportunities that, I guess, put you with people but maybe allow you to keep a little bit of yourself, which is what I needed at the time, then that's another thing that I would suggest, is just being really open-minded and offering your services.
Yeah, I agree. Don't you think that when things are going wrong, you say yes more than ever before, and then when things are going right, you have to start saying no more than ever before, which doesn't really make sense, but it does. It's the only option. Amazing. Well, please give a big because Renee did it, I can do it. So
Yes.
That's
Alrighty. So when Brooke and I decided on the theme for this year, you guys popped straight into my mind because Lauren was actually part of the mastermind that I was hosting at the time. And yeah, there's a few of the girls here. We girls. And you were sharing blow by blow exactly what you guys were up to, and I know that this pivot might not have happened if it weren't for COVID. So just to introduce you, you guys opened the door to Black Bar in Claremont in October 2017, and so
mums are bringing their daughters at a vulnerable age, 15, 16 years old, and seeing what it does for their self-confidence. And so that's what we do.
Right. So, as a couple who run a business together, you've got 2 kids as well. How do you juggle business and family? And I want to ask, do you feel societal expectations are different for a man and a woman?
So firstly, I'm just curious to know if anyone in the room runs a business with their partner or lover or boyfriend. Hand up. Okay. So about 30 minutes, I want you to grab a bottle of wine and meet me by the girls' toilets because I've only got 8 minutes left and there's a lot to talk about. Okay. It's a juggle. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's such a juggle. Like whether you're working or whether you're not working, you just have kids. Like as a woman, there's just the expectations on us are so big. I think that what I've come to understand through kind of having a bit of a breakdown maybe 6 months ago is that women can have it all. We really can. We're so fortunate. But I think it's just understanding that we can't have it all at once. And understanding that you can only control the things that you can control. And that's definitely something I learned the hard way when we started the business 4 years ago almost. I was a new mum, and I remember my business coach at the time, our business coach who really was just our relationship coach. Alicia, she's not here, but she said to me, "Look, Lauren, you're going to need to set some boundaries." And I was like, yeah, whatever. She's like, "You can't be writing emails at 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And I was like, well, I'm not breastfeeding. Why wouldn't I? It's rude not to. Let's just get back to these things. But anyway, I kind of burnt out pretty big time. About 6 months ago, and that manifested in a number of ways. I kind of was quite snappy. I found with my team, who I love dearly, like my own children. And I think the low point was definitely chasing a customer down Stirling Highway because they left the class early, and I just had to know why they left. Why did you leave the class? What happened? So that was a real low point. Anyway, again, get a bottle of wine.
Telling the story so calmly, and I was just like, what the fuck are you thinking?
I didn't know how bad it was. I remember calling my girlfriend on the way home, and she just stopped me. She's like, "Lauren, are you okay?" I was like, "What do you mean?" "It's okay." And then, anyway, we unfortunately, James and I had a miscarriage, and then so I started getting a few tests done and found out that all these things were going on with my body. My cortisol was so high, the doctor told me that my body was literally about to break down and stop functioning, just because I don't think, 4 years later, our team going from 4 to over 20 and having other locations and then opening dance, I didn't ever set the expectations of what success looked like for me. And I've never ever felt the pressure from society to be a certain way, look a certain way, except at the time your mum bought me an iron, which is still on the box. I've never been an iron. But yeah, so I think that would be...
Societal expectations are changing a little bit from generation to generation. Mum knows not to buy an iron anymore.
I think now I have a better understanding of what the juggle looks like. Before, I think, like I said, I didn't know what success looked like, so I did stop working. I literally worked every hour and every month. James would come to me with a smile on his face and be like, "Oh, see, we just did X amount of revenue this month, or we have this amount of many members," and my response, word for word, was exactly the same every month. Do you remember?
Is that good?
Yeah, I was just like, "Is that good? Are you sure that's good? I'm pretty sure we can do better. Let's double it next month." And he would just be like, "Oh, fun police, let's celebrate." And I think, So now my little life hacks are knowing. I don't really believe in balance, so I just find that maybe a little bit boring. I'm more believing I'm a seesaw. So I'll choose months where I'm going to work my booty off and kind of tell my team, "Look, I might be," or when I'm with the kids, I'll tell my team I'm going to be a lot more present at home. So please, Wednesdays at this time, just email me instead, or just making it easy on myself and knowing that when I am working more, if I'm making tuna pasta 3 nights a week, not to beat myself up about it. And then also outsourcing as much as possible. I think that really helps with the juggle.
Yeah. I know what you mean about the season. I remember, masterminding, I'm checking out, I'm taking the boys camping, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to do that, just take a break.
The question around societal expectation, I guess, It's incredibly important, I think, for women leaders, and particularly I look at Lauren, and societal expectations could never be anywhere near the expectation she puts on herself. And your ability to manage and control that will always be the most important thing.
Good one. Round of applause for that. Okay, so now the big pivot, everyone's favourite word. Tell us what you guys did when COVID hit, when your studio got shut down. How did you make the most of that?
Like everyone else that's been up here, COVID smacked us in the face. It happened really quick, which, in retrospect, was probably the best thing that could have happened. We didn't really have time to wallow in our own self-pity or even really strategize. We went straight into action mode. We knew that we needed to look after our team. We were getting a lot of questions from our team. We were a lot younger. We had a responsibility to them to make sure that they knew that it was going to be okay, to our customers as well, and probably thirdly to ourselves, to look after each other. We moved really quick, really decisive, and it was full on for about a week there.
Yeah, I remember the day so clearly. I think it was a Monday, and we had to shut by 12, so we decided to run kind of back-to-back classes up until that point. And I wrote every single class, and in every class I cried. And so by the 5th class, I was just an absolute mess. But anyway, as soon as we finished that, we went home and we got a 50 truck, and we were like, okay, 6 a.m. we're starting. Like, we were desperate to get these bikes out to our customers because, we were so nervous. We thought we were going to go into a proper lockdown, and it would have been heartbreaking to know that our customers, our family, would be able to move their bodies. They're so used to this workout. We definitely were panicked about moving quickly, so we did. We thought it would take 2 days to get all the bikes out, but it took, long days. It probably took about 4 days, because every house we went to, they're like family, we're meeting their kids, we're having dance parties, we're eating cheesecake, we're having a game of tennis, it just went on and on and on. But that's what we did, got the bikes out, and then after that, those 4 days, it kind of the reality sunk in, because we were on such an adrenaline hit. And then, I guess she kind of hit the fan, really, to be honest. James and I fought a lot. We probably didn't talk. It was really bad. We had to go on into a little vacation at his friend's house down the road just because we were fighting so much about it, about what we were trying to do, and I knew that I wanted to give our customers something more. They had the bikes, they had the playlists. James would set the playlist every day at 6 a.m. and if the playlist was late by 4 minutes, I freaked out. We didn't.
Back to my friend's house.
Literally, I was so panicked. I just didn't want to lose any more customers because, and also they deserved to have more, and we had this time. So, I really wanted to create online classes, but James was so insistent that, he's a control freak around. You can talk about why.
Pivot. You've got to be so careful, right? How much do you invest? What resources are you going to put towards it? How long is the COVID pandemic? How long is the lockdown going to last for? These were all questions on my mind. Certainly, shaping the brand in any way was something that I was really concerned about. I saw what fitness videos look like. Someone holding up a phone, some shitty music in the background, kind of calling out an online video. It kind of broke my heart that we would even consider putting out something like that. Which we didn't. I think we found a really good compromise. We gave an opportunity to one of our founding team members who really stepped up and said, I can do this, I can produce it, I can do it well. It gave us the confidence that let's explore this channel. And now we've got a genuine online channel that we're really proud of and one we're going to fight about.
When I had to give James some cooling off, because I find when I'm working with him, if I have an idea, he needs to let it sit for a little bit. So with the kind of BBTV stuff, it's called BBTV, I kind of let that slide. And then we have, so we've taken over an old Chinese restaurant, and we had an 80 square metre kitchen there. So instead I set my sights into turning that into a yoga and dance studio. So by the time we could get back, we started figuring that out. So that was really fun too, to kind of work on that side project. And so from COVID we had launched a yoga and dance studio, and online platform, which has been really successful.
And so, if COVID didn't happen, do you think that BBTV would even exist ever?
No. Yeah, I can almost guarantee no.
So now that's just an extra add-on for people who want to work out from home.
Yeah, and particularly for young mums. So that's certainly been, the most pleasing thing. It's a way for, I think it's sort of getting common in the room before actually one of our bikes as well. And people's priorities move and shift, but it's just great to be able to still keep our community engaged. Depending on your life stage, if you moved interstate, what if you interstate and so.
And so important for mental health when lockdown, you can't go anywhere, keeping up to exercise and movement. So, my last question to you, you have two beautiful boys, and obviously the next generation of boys can play a big part in creating an equal future. So, what's your advice to them, growing up and contributing towards that?
Well, for me, it's really important to teach the boys to view everyone as their own entity. They shouldn't. I don't want them to gender stereotype or view someone based on their colour or their age or their weight or anything like that. So, my son Charlie, he's 4. He's got kind of long hair. Everyone, he's a beautiful little girl according to most people out there. But it doesn't matter. He plays in trucks. He's got a hairbrush. So I think that's really important, and also teaching them to be deep thinkers. If anything, COVID has taught us that we need to be super resilient, to think outside the box. But most important is to maintain perspective.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I love the word open-minded. I think that Renee used before. Teaching your kids to be open-minded, to be curious, about the world and about other people, we've got a long way to go. And I think anyone that's got a platform, whether it be, unfortunately, one of the biggest platforms for politicians that still really don't know how to do it, but for anyone in business leadership that has a team working under them, and most importantly for parents, we need to be better, we need to move quicker, and we need this change to happen faster than it's happened from my parents' generation to ours.
That's a perfect way to end. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. And the nominations, they had to give 3 reasons why this person deserved to win the grant. The grant is $1,000 cash, 12 months membership to both Brooke and I's membership, and a beautiful hamper from Charlesworth Nuts. My auntie and uncle are in the room who've provided that. Thank you guys. They came all the way over from Adelaide.
Oh, nice.
For my sister's wedding. So, and the Ritz voucher. And $200 Ritz voucher so they can enjoy a night away. This person who won was nominated 5 times, so back to
to people because so many has helped me throughout my life, and being able to look after the kids and then just being there after for the parents. You know, I talk to the parents all the time, Instagram. It really got me out of depression, you know.